Hey, Reviews and Dunn. Who's giving you a dose this week?
What's going on, world? Happy Monday. It's your boy, Derek Dunn, back with another A1 interview. And as you guys know, I always enjoy chopping it up with aspiring filmmakers, especially documentarians. So today on the line, I have Mr. Victor Suarez, and I don't want to butcher her name, so I'm going to have his counterpart introduce herself.
Livia Albeck-Ripka.
Very cool. And they have a new doc that's playing the festival circuit. It's about the Altadena fires, I think that's how you say it, in California. And this is a subject that I kind of knew about the fires, but I really didn't know the history behind that town until the fires started making the go round. So I'm looking forward to hearing their passion behind the project and what really motivated them to make this project. Because it's very sad times when there's all this history that they're trying to erase, and it takes something like another fire for more stuff to come about. So thank you guys for not only bringing this topic to awareness, but chopping up with me.
Yeah,
Thanks
for
for having
sure.
us.
Thank you for having
Appreciate
us.
it.
So first and foremost, what was the inspiration behind doing this project?
So we live in LA in Echo Park. We're like a 20-minute drive from the center of the burn zone in Altadena. And we started hearing these stories like after the sort of initial news coverage of the initial fire sort of went away. We started hearing from friends about the homes of people whose homes were never touched by the fires, but they were still displaced and couldn't go home, and they weren't getting any help from their insurance companies, who told them basically, just wipe down your bed, wipe down your sofa, and then move back in. And don't worry if you're getting positive tests for cyanide or lithium or like any of that stuff. Like, don't worry about it. Just clean it up. Um, so we thought that that was a story worth investigating. And at the time when we started, like there was basically nothing, almost nothing about
Yeah,
it.
there was definitely fair to say there was much less coverage of this subject than of course, the homes that did burn down, and not to diminish that struggle in any way. It's awful to have your home burned down, but the participants in our film really talked about how invisible they felt in this struggle, that um, the both the actual nature of the problem is that it's an invisible one. So you walk into a house and you immediately, in the immediate aftermath of the fire, they at first felt lucky because they learned their homes didn't burn down, and they felt grateful. And some of them even described having this like survivor's guilt. But then as the days and weeks wore on and they learned about the dangers, that's when they began to feel like actually they were really not in a good spot. And some of them described that feeling as being the lucky, unlucky ones. And so both the sort of the danger itself is invisible, and then on top of that, the struggle of that experience felt invisible. And so we just really wanted to shed a light on that. And one of our not only participants, but also the composer of our film, Roy Werner, he and his wife and baby were displaced for several months. And so, you know, he, he was an integral part of obviously the conception and making of the film. And so that was a really big inspiration for us too.
So you guys tapped into the survivors guilt angle, which is something that always I wouldn't say if I find it interesting, but it's one of those things that I don't think that the average person really knows just how heavy that weighs on you. Because I'm an Air Force vet, and I can recall being deployed or living in England in 2005 when Katrina hit. And I'm with people that, they're from New Orleans. And they're just like, well, I'm over here in England. I can't really do anything. And it's just weighing on them because you have your family back at home and you want to reach out, you want to help, but there's literally nothing you can do. So, in speaking with some of the survivors, how emotionally did you all get throughout that interviewing process?
Yeah, well, thanks for your service. And like it changed actually throughout like process because we started maybe filming like a month after the initial fires, and people's feelings then were very different than fast forward to like a year later when people whose homes did burn down are, their homes are getting rebuilt, they're like moving, and the people whose homes are in this situation, they've made a lot of them have made almost zero progress. Um, so it was really complicated. Like, a lot of them at some point would say, you know what, it would have been a lot easier if my house had burned down. And like, yeah, I
And
mean,
they felt guilty. I think some participants felt guilty even admitting that because, of course, it wasn't that they felt they were in a worse off situation than people whose homes did burn down. That they all acknowledged to us, both are terrible, but just the feeling of being stuck and in limbo, I think, is extremely intolerable for people. It doesn't allow us to move through the stages of grief when we're stuck like that. And grief is also non-linear. So I think the as Victor was saying, we filmed this over several months, and so there were many ups and downs, and even now, as the film is coming out and going to festivals, that's still part of the process, and seeing how our participants are feeling about engaging or not engaging, just depending on where they're at emotionally with their homes and how things are going. I mean, it's all still a process.
So kind of want to pivot a little bit. So I think again, as I was alluding to earlier, with the doc, I like that you guys are kind of bringing awareness more so to the human aspect of it. Because when you think about the fires that happened, the news, at least here in the DC area, it's kind of all about celebrities and what's going on. You really aren't focusing on the everyday, everyman and what they're losing. And again, like as I told you guys earlier when we started, seeing the town like just be gone and knowing there's so much history there. I'm not even in LA, and it's heartbreaking for me because that's one of those things that you aren't being taught in school, and now that history, the ancestors, like it's gone. And how do you how do we keep that alive? So in that retrospect, I mean, what's the one thing that you would hope that viewers of all ages take away from your documentary?
I know. I mean, well, yeah, we wanted to focus on Altadena because it's much more of a, you know, the Palisades is the Palisades. Like this is where the celebrities live. They're in a very, for the most part, a very different situation than people who are in Altadena, who are like, much more working class, middle class, historically like a flourishing Black community there. It's like these are the stories that we wanted to focus on because these people weren't getting the same help or attention as the Palisades. Not that they're, yeah, you know.
And
Um,
I would say that there was also the way that the communities responded in the aftermath of the fire was really different. There were like a really strong grassroots organizations and efforts in Altadena by the community itself in terms of recovery. And so, as filmmakers, we're not interested in telling a story kind of as observers from the outside. And, you know, we live near Altadena. We're not from Altadena, but we wanted to make a film where the people in it were participants and collaborators. And so the fact that that was a place where there was just an interest in telling that story and people who we felt wanted to collaborate with us, it just made the process feel much more authentic. And it was like obvious that it was something, a story that should be told.
and yeah, it's like it's a short film. It's 10 minutes. Like we don't know what the answers are, or any of that, but like we wanted to make this short film so that people could, it's not asking that much of your time for 10 minutes to watch this thing. And hopefully it touches on all these aspects. Like it touches a bit on the insurance, it touches a bit on these new urban fires and, how we don't know what the long-term environmental consequences are and this like new phenomenon. But it's short, and like we want people to be able to watch it. And we want people to just know that this is happening, like these urban wildfires that burn all this stuff inside our homes, like refrigerators and Teslas. Like this is a new thing that hasn't really happened. It's maybe happened 2 or 3 times before in this country. It's happening more and more. So like we just want people to know that this is a thing, and smoke damaged homes are something that we need to be thinking about when we're looking at all the images of after Altadena or Lahaina. Like we need to be looking at not just the homes that are burned down. Like we need to widen sort of the aperture and see like, hey, it's not just images of destruction. It's like the homes next door that look entirely fine to our naked eye, and these people need to be included in the conversation as well.
So you mentioned the runtime is only 10 minutes. Have you guys ever flirted with possibly doing an expansion or maybe using the documentary storyline as a backdrop for a traditional narrative with composite characters?
Who knows? We're just at the beginning of the film is just at the beginning of its journey, and so we're really open to anything. I think right now the most important thing for us is just that it gets seen, and hopefully it moves people, and just lets them into this challenging space for a brief period of time, and hopefully helps people to kind of think about something they may not have considered before.
But we're definitely not eager to get back to shooting like in those homes. I mean, it was hard, like, just being in that space, you don't know what's safe or not safe. We're in there like fully suited up. We like filmed this when we had like an infant baby like at home. We're like putting plastic sheeting on our car every time we go out. Like, and we just, we had a small taste of what it's like for these people, but like it really is crazy making. You don't know like there's no regulations out there.
Yeah,
there's no
and
like
obviously what we experienced as filmmakers is like a teeny tiny slice of what anyone who's actually in this situation and is faced with, just the crazy making decisions of, do I go back into my house and like, can I keep my precious like record collection or my dad's instruments or paintings or whatever the stuff is that, if it burns down, it's awful. But if you still have it, but it's contaminated and you don't know if it's safe to keep it or not, that decision making can really drive people crazy. And so, we only experienced the tiniest slice of that in going into these houses. But
yeah, we went a little crazy.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to chop it up with me really quick. And where can festival fans see this in your area, and where can they find more about the film on social media?
So we're very excited to be having our LA premiere at Slamdance. The first screening is on Feb 20. The next one is on Feb 22. Then we're going to be at Big Sky. Do you remember what day?
Feb 21st.
Feb 21.
We've got a few coming out that we can't talk about yet, but yeah. Hopefully you can come see it, and hopefully it'll be, online soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See ya.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Hi, this is Rihanna.
Hey, what's up? This is Ludacris.
You're rocking with the best. It's Reviews and Done.